Welcome, everybody. It is Monday. It is August 19th, 2024. And we've been doing this little presentation here for quite a few years, and we just want to continue doing this in honor of our friend and fellow distributor. And so we want to welcome everybody to this call. And legally, we must say that this meeting is for educational and entertainment purposes only. What you hear tonight is not intended to treat, diagnose, or cure. And that being said, it takes great discipline to make changes in our mindset, our habits, and our lifestyle. And so we are here to seek true, science-based, clinically proven nutritional use, and when you do those things, you do get better. So if you have a desire to make a 90-day change in your lifestyle, you've come to the right place. And with Dr. Joel Wallach's research and the development team, they've created an army while raising his children, and he's been all over the world, and he's been sharing this information. So to be respectful, I'd like for everybody to get comfortable. Mute your phones, please. And you do have the number, so it is dial in. You can call your friends or text them, 717-908-1834. And the code to participate is 900-774-POUND. And if they want to listen to the playback, they use that same code number. The participant code is 900-774-POUND. And you would change those last two digits on the call-in to 36. So instead of 1834, when you call in live, it would be 1836. All right, thank you all for coming, and get yourself something to drink. Get yourself a pad of paper and pencil or a pen or a marker or whatever you want to use. If you're comfortable just sitting and you can remember all these things, and maybe some things you just want to just sit and relax. So let me bring up what we have here tonight is going to bring a recording in, and I'm going to mute the phone. I'm going to grab that, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm having a little bit of a issue bringing up these recordings, so I'm going to try and get it over here and help you guys. You can get that to go like that. I'm not the very best at this computer stuff, but we're going to get it. And I'm going to put in the code number 1. Okay. And it is uploading this file. And as it does that, I just want to share with you, I went out to go visit some friends today, and, we just had a really great conversation. And it's good to get out, and it was very breezy today here. It was windy, cold. We're in Michigan, so the weather changes every 5 minutes or so. And but it was a great day for doing the laundry and hanging clothes on the clothesline. And so there were people in the house folding clothes. There were people putting the clothes away. And, that is very good for the lymphatic system. And, people don't realize the importance of just movement. Our bodies just naturally, they breathe, and they naturally blood flows, and naturally we, have all of these fluids and things just moving through us all the time. And we take these things for granted. You know, we don't even think sometimes the divine, beautiful, wonderful bodies that we have, and we only get one in our whole lifetime. We get one body in our whole lifetime, and we are to recreate that body. That's what God wanted us to do. I believe that that's why he gave Adam a mate and wanted the mate to be right next to him, so he took out that rib, and he said, I'm going to give you this partner, and you guys can do things together. And when they got knowledge, okay, when they received the knowledge from that garden, I know this will go off a little topic here, but we're trying to get this uploaded, and we'll be able to do this on time. So we get knowledge, and some people tell us the truth, and some people don't always tell us the truth. And so we go through these things in life where we're having to figure out, well, was they really telling me the truth, or were they joking with me, or were they putting me through a test, or, you know, what was that purpose for that, you know, chat, talk, conversation, socializing. You know, they put so many different words for just people to communicate, to have a conversation. And if we just keep it simple, and there's go a few deer just running across the yard right there, and it's just as simple as that. If we know that these parts of our body move naturally, why would we want to put in something that's going to change it? Why would we want to take something out that's going to change it? So our choices to drink certain things, basically, that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to come into the world, and we're going to be by the mother. The mom is going to supply the colostrum. The mother supplies the colostrum right from the very beginning. And I was at a farm, and the calves were very thin and like bones. And I called up the owner, and I said, I'm kind of concerned about your cows. There are babies out there, and I think they need water. And she said to me, no, they don't need water. Don't worry about it. They're very young. Some of them may have just been born last night, and they only have the colostrum for the mom. I just thought, I didn't even think of that part, you know. Just we are supposed to be with our children. We're supposed to be with moms, dads. So let's see if this works now. And I think it did work. And so with that being said, mom knows exactly what to give the baby. Mom knows exactly what it needs. And sometimes moms make bad choices, and that becomes detrimental to the children. So I want to, and I don't know if this is going to be relevant to what I was speaking about, but I'm going to talk about EFAs and constipation and things like that. So if we put the right things in, the proper fluids, just like, you know, Doc says and other people say, you don't want to be putting in, you know, chocolate milk into your gas tank, okay, because they just don't mix. If you have vinegar and oil, you got to shake it up before you put it on your salad. So these are things that are common sense. So with that being said, let's be mindful. If you have paper and pen, let's be mindful of the things that we take in. Some things you hear you may not like. Some things that we've been taught may have been a lie, and some things that we're going to learn tonight might be wow moments. They might be educational. They might be upsetting. But the whole purpose for our calls are not to upset anyone. They're to tell you the truth, as we have learned through the research that's been done for us already in many books. You can get those at www.drjwallach.com for the resources. And then you make your own choices. And we encourage you to look at those resources. We encourage you to talk to your local businesses and ask them, what is it that's most important to them? Because they have to take care of their family, right? And they have to be healthy. Every business depends on getting the food and the drinks and the proper things into their restaurant. And if you had a shoe store, you wouldn't want to just carry one size shoe. You would want to carry multiple sizes to accommodate everyone. So that's kind of what we want to talk about. So tonight, if something is sounding like you're more interested in, you want to know more about it, you can contact the people that got you in contact with this call, and you get back with them, and they'll probably give you a good food or a bad food list. You can go from there, and then they'll even give you a website for free if you'd like to look at that. So tonight we're going to talk about EFAs, some frying, and some constipation, and let's see where that all goes. All right? I'm going to mute out right now.
Hi, this is Anthony Mosora, RN Health Coach, Level 1 and 2, Square One System Practitioner, Longevity Distributor. Good to be on here with y'all. God bless you. Like always, we love to do these calls Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time, to cover information that you will not hear about on the mainstream media. A lot of information is being suppressed these days. We live in a medical monopoly, and so life-changing, vitally important information is not getting covered like it needs to, and that's a shame. And that gives us an opportunity here on this call to provide a venue for actual free-flow dialogue of these very important health topics. So I'm going to start off by getting into some housekeeping. Then after that, we're going to go ahead and get into the disclaimers. Then we'll open up for the main topic of the night. After that, we'll leave some time for health Q&A, testimonial sharing, longevity, home-based business opportunity discussion, etc. We would really like to meet with people on this call and meet the needs of those that get on this call. So just for housekeeping, just make sure when you're not talking, if you're just listening in, just make sure to have your phone on mute so we can have nice, clear conversation, communication. Just make sure, though, when you are ready to talk, make sure to put your phone on unmute. Just unmute yourself so we can hear you loud and clear. So when it comes to the disclaimers, let's start with the health disclaimer. The health disclaimer is very important that we keep it the intention of this promote optimal health. This call is not intended to be a doctor-patient relationship. That's not what we do here. It's to discuss strategies to support, promote optimal health. We cannot officially say that the strategies we talk about on this call are intended to cure, reverse, prevent, or treat disease. Again, we talk about strategies that are practical in nature to support and promote optimal health. We do encourage people, if you're listening to this and you have a health challenge, especially if it's complex in nature, or let's say multiple health challenges, not a bad idea to secure the services of a local licensed, regulated, holistic physician, if at all possible, such as a licensed naturopathic physician, to help you gauge the success or lack thereof of any particular strategy you are trying on for size, whether it's something you hear about on this call or something outside of this call. And we just want to go ahead and make that very clear for people. That being said, we stand by what we share. We're open to thinking outside of the box. But a lot of this information, we've learned from pioneers, from people that are legends in my book. For instance, Dr. Joel Wallach, among others, who have put in decades worth of work working with animals, working with human beings, doing tens of thousands of autopsies on many species of animals and human beings to provide a robust amount of data and connecting nutrient deficiencies to health challenges that most people, because of the conventional medical monopoly that we live in, unfortunately believe that, nothing we can do. We just take a symptom suppressant medication or do a surgery. And in most of the cases, these are nutrient deficiencies. So that being said, there you go for the health disclaimer. And just make sure, as a reminder for anybody who just got on, just make sure to have your phone unmuted until you're ready to talk, which we'll have that opportunity here a little later in the call. For the business disclaimer, we do leave time on this call to discuss the Youngevity home-based business opportunity. Again, just very important that people understand right up front that we cannot guarantee that if you get on board with the Youngevity home-based business opportunity that you're automatically going to make a lot of money. We can't even guarantee you're going to make any money. We have a lot of people in Youngevity Nation. We have some people that make full-time income, more than a full-time income. We have some people that make nothing at all, and then we have a lot of people in between. A lot of factors go into how successful you are in this business, and that has a lot to do with, showing up, being willing to share this information, some skills you learn along the way about sharing, distributing this information to help people avail themselves of the very important products that Youngevity has to offer and various services. So just want to be very upfront about that. The good news is in Youngevity Nation, and a number of people on this call that attend regularly have been at this business with Youngevity long enough to where we can help people and connect them up to training calls and resources available through Youngevity. So we are open to that. We're going to go ahead and get into the main topic tonight, which deals with fats. We're going to focus mostly on healthy fats. And of course, we'll talk about the essential fatty acids. So we're going to kind of step back and look at the bigger picture, and then we'll kind of get more specific. And then because we not only want to help provide sound health information to people, but we also want to help them learn of practical strategies so that they can get the benefits of what we're covering. So we'll actually go through some practical tips to help not only assist people in getting the healthy fats, okay, and, the essential fatty acids that they need, but to actually make sure that they're doing what they can to properly digest and absorb these critical nutrients. And again, the old adage of you are what you eat is actually totally untrue. That is not true. It's more accurate, as Dr. Wallach points out, you are what you absorb. So if the digestion isn't good, if the absorption isn't good, you could be taking a lot of good fats in. But unless you're doing what you can to optimize the ability of your body to actually digest and absorb these nutrients, you're not going to get the benefits like you should be getting. So we'll cover that and more. And then, again, after this main topic, we'll open up the floor for health Q&A, testimonial sharing, etc. So let's go ahead and dive right in. And, again, what makes this work so doable and really enjoyable and rewarding and easier is because so much of this good work has already been done for us. For instance, we have vitally important, valuable tools available to us because of Dr. Wallach and those who've worked with him at Youngevity to really disseminate information to equip people with the knowledge so that they can learn of this sound health information and then, of course, help them to apply it into their lives. So I'm actually going to be reading from one of these tools we have available. This is a book called Rare Earths Forbidden Cures, written by Dr. Joel Wallach and Dr. Malan. This book, along with other very high-quality health resources, can be found at the following website, drjwallach.com. That's drjwallach.com. That's drjwallach.com. I encourage people to check out that website and avail yourself of the health resources, CDs, DVDs, books, etc. I'm telling you, you can learn a lot just by reading one or several books. I recommend people get as many as they can. I've got a home medical library here that has many of these books. I encourage people to do the same. You can end up with just a little bit of reading, really gain a level of understanding of nutrition and the essential nutrients that we need, to the point where you're going to have more knowledge than most doctors out there. So very, very much encourage people to get these books. Again, drjwallach.com. So I'm going to be reading from this book some, then we'll kind of take it from there, and I'll actually be going to my Youngevity site, and I'm going to pull up some of the products that are available to support in this endeavor of giving our body those essential fatty acids we need, and some healthy eating tips to help us as well. So that being said, let's go ahead and dive in now. For anybody who may have this book at home, you're welcome to read along with me here as I read from this book, Rare Earths Forbidden Cures. I'm going to be starting on page 290. Not going to be too much to cover here, but there's a lot of good, dense information here. So hop on in and put on your seatbelt. So 290, starting at the section that says lipids in this book. Lipids, that's another name for fat, by the way. Lipids, or fats, like carbohydrates, are composed of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Fats have the common property of being insoluble in water, soluble in organic solvents such as ether and chloroform, and utilizable as energy by living organisms. Fats as a group of carbon compounds include ordinary fats, oils, waxes, and related compounds. The primary food sources of lipids are butter, flaxseed oil, olive oil, animal fat, for instance, pork, chicken, fish, beef, lamb, etc., nuts, seeds, whole grains, olives, avocados, egg yolks, dairy products, etc. And we'll be diving into that particular list here a little bit later. Some are better than the others, as we will see. Fats serve as a source of energy, 9 calories per gram compared with 4.5 calories per gram for carbohydrates, both immediate and stored, as in body fat. Triglycerides, the primary component of fats and oils, are composed of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Structurally, they are esters of trihydric alcohol, or glycerol, and fatty acids. The fatty acids can have from 4 to 30 carbon atoms and constitute the bulk of the triglyceride mass. 100 grams of fat or oil will contain 95 grams of fatty acids. A fatty acid or hydrocarbon chain is described with regard to 3 characteristics: chain length, degree of saturation with hydrogen, and location of the first double bond. The length is a reference to the number of carbon atoms in the chain. For instance, C16 has 16 carbons in the chain. The term short, which is less than 6 carbons, medium, 7 to 11 carbons, and long, 12 or more carbons, are used to describe the chains of fatty acids in the structure of triglycerides. The degree of hydrogen saturation in fatty acids is defined by the number of double bonds between carbon atoms in the fatty acid chains. A chain can contain all the hydrogen it can hold and have no double bonds, in which case it is referred to as a saturated fatty acid. It can contain one double bond, monounsaturated fatty acid, or it may contain several double bonds, polyunsaturated fatty acids. The locations of the first double bond as counted from the tail or methyl end of the fatty acid is referred to as the omega number, for instance, omega-3, omega-6, etc. 3 polyunsaturated fatty acids, which are linoleic, linolenic, and arachidonic acids, are known as essential fatty acids. However, only 2, linoleic and linolenic, are designed as EFAs, as arachidonic acid can be synthesized and produced by the human from linoleic acid. EFAs have essential roles in fat transport and metabolism and in maintaining the function and integrity of cell walls. These cell walls have these bilipid layer membranes, so it's a double layer lipid membrane. They're also part of the fatty acids of cholesterol esters and phospholipids and plasma lipoproteins and mitochondrial lipoproteins, so a very important structural unit. Serum cholesterol can be lowered by the consumption of EFAs. Essential fatty acids are also the raw material for the human body to manufacture prostaglandins that help regulate blood pressure, heart rate, vascular dilation, blood clotting, bronchial, so dealing with the lungs, bronchial dilation, and central nervous system or brain and spinal cord function. EFA deficiency in human infants results in a poor growth rate, eczema, lowered resistance to infectious diseases. Cholesterol is a member of a large group of fats known as sterols. They all have a complex carbon ring structure. Cholesterol is only found in animal tissue, but similar sterols are found in plants. Cholesterol is an essential part of the structure of cell walls, brain, and spinal cord, and is the raw material for the human body to manufacture vitamin D, bile acids, adrenocortical hormones, estrogens. A cholesterol deficiency makes going through menopause a living hell. So he says in this book, eat 2 eggs every morning to slip through menopause almost symptom-free. Progesterone and testosterone. A cholesterol deficiency turns hubby into a TV-watching steer who is totally disinterested in sex. Ergosterol, a yeast sterol, is converted to vitamin D2 on exposure to sunlight or ultraviolet light. Beta-cytosterol, another plant sterol, is usually absorbed in small amounts during high levels of consumption will actually raise the blood cholesterol level. So we got into some of the scientific kind of basic descriptions of fats. One thing I want to point out here, because we're going to kind of segue from the book here and get a little more into the practical aspects of things. So, Dr. Wallach, in this book I had mentioned earlier, this is on page 290, it says the primary food sources of lipids are butter, flaxseed oil, olive oil, animal fat, pork, chicken, fish, beef, lamb, etc., nuts, seeds, whole grains, olives, avocados, egg yolks, dairy products, etc. So we just want to go ahead, because, again, we like to stick to the basics here. Remember, he's giving examples of fats, but, again, some fats are good for us, others are not. And this is a big thing, and I think it's important to look back in the history. So for several decades now, in the mid-20th century, fat essentially became demonized, just simplistically demonized. And, there was observation of heart disease, and you may have heard of Ansel Keys. He did this work, and I use the word science here. Think of science with a $ as the S instead of actual true science. He basically did a study, and he cherry-picked the data to try to promote the idea that saturated fat, for instance, that in particular was bad for you, that it would lead to increased heart disease. And basically from that study, they ended up really promoting the Mediterranean diet. So, that's when things such as butter, and cream and eggs. And now this had been going on for some time, but this was kind of like a nail in the coffin, so to speak, for this narrative of really demonizing, simplistically demonizing fat, in particular saturated fat and cholesterol. And since that time, you have seen, even though there has been change as a growing amount of evidence has come to actually contradict these claims, but you've seen this simplistic demonization of especially saturated fat and cholesterol to the end that, the thousands of years worth of tradition of cooking with butter and lard and using cream and eggs and the fat on meat, that was kind of thrown out the window, so to speak, and they started promoting things like Crisco and vegetable oil and olive oil. And so we need to keep in mind when he's discussing these fats like flaxseed oil, olive oil, etc. This is just talking about the common consumptions of fats, but we need to get back to the basics. The evidence shows out there that not all fats are created equal. Again, there is a simplistic demonization, especially with saturated fat and cholesterol. And so what ended up happening was people started replacing what are out with more and more evidence showing that these are actually good for us. Fats like found in egg yolks and butter and cream and things of that nature. And now, so we're seeing the tide turn slowly but surely, but unfortunately there's a lot of damage done. This narrative of demonizing fat, especially saturated fat and cholesterol. So again, people started going on this low fat craze, and what did they replace the calories with? More carbohydrates. And oftentimes people are eating more processed carbohydrates, sugar. So what's happened is we've actually seen, in combination with the nutrient deficiencies that have worsened with time, we've actually seen a big increase in overweight and obesity, diabetes, and a lot of that actually stems from, like I said, in combination with nutrient deficiencies, the fact that people are going more low fat and they're eating more carbohydrates because the medical community basically demonized fat, again, especially saturated fat and cholesterol. And then they actually started, Big Pharma makes billions and billions from promoting cholesterol-lowering drugs and pushing low-saturated fat diets. They made a lot of money off of atorvastatin, simvastatin, a lot of these cholesterol-lowering drugs, encouraging people to eat low-saturated fat, less cholesterol, all this nonsense. And since this has been happening, we've seen, because we talked about all the roles that these different fats play, and now you're seeing the manifestation of these different deficiency problems that are due to, again, fat deficiencies. People aren't eating enough fat, and they end up getting neurological problems. We've seen Alzheimer's go way up. We've seen menopausal symptoms be aggravated, hormonal issues in both women and men, of course, because we're not eating enough of those good fats. That's the case for a lot of people, and they're eating too many carbs, eating too much sugar. You're seeing more and more diabetes, more and more overweight and obesity. So we've gotten ourselves in a big problem here. So it's important that and we get back to the basics, this is what Dr. Wallach really emphasizes, Dr. Glidden. There's a number of foods, and there's a number of these foods that fat is implicated. So we always recommend people avoid the 12 bad foods, which I'll go over: wheat, barley, rye, oats, non-organic corn, non-organic soy, oil in a bottle, bad fats, right? You want to avoid well done or burnt red meat. You want to avoid the processed meats with nitrates and nitrites added to them. We want to avoid fried food. We want to avoid the skins of baked potatoes, yams, and sweet potatoes. We want to avoid carbonated beverages with a meal. We want to make sure that we're avoiding these 12 bad foods. Let me make sure here. Make sure I didn't miss any here. I think we're good. I think I covered it. But at any rate, that's the problem. So we need to be able to differentiate, okay, well, what constitutes a good fat, bad fat? Well, you're going to solve a lot of issues by eliminating the 12 bad foods. Again, the emphasis there on fried foods, the oil in a bottle, things like mayonnaise, salad dressings, cooking oils, even extra virgin olive oil and coconut oil. Even, people, I got flaxseed oil, I got avocado oil. You see, we go back to the basics here, right? We talked about saturated fat. What does that look like chemically in the body? Polyunsaturated fat, monounsaturated fat. The problem is that the way people go about getting these omega-3s, omega-6s, the polyunsaturated fats or the monounsaturated fats, the problem is those fats are more vulnerable to becoming oxidized because of that chemical structure. They're just more prone. So unlike something like butter or ghee or, lard, tallow, that is more saturated fat, these fats, these oils, the salad dressings, the cooking oils, all that stuff, microwave popcorn that has the oil in it, these are very prone to being oxidized. And so that even becomes worse when people start heating them, which is another reason why fried food, if it's got the word fried in it, avoid it. And fried really, and we're talking about food that's cooked in cooking oil, whether it's on a skillet or a deep fryer, this is horrible for us. So by avoiding those sorts of fats, we're going to really reduce the oxidative damage, which is linked to inflammation and cancer and all sorts of issues. And we're going to free up our own body's resources to be able to be used elsewhere. So we don't want to be putting that poison into our bodies. And so it's like the polar opposite. So butter is good for us. Things like cream and eggs and not just the egg whites. We're talking about the egg yolks. It's pretty much the complete opposite of what we've been told by the conventionalists. So, again, this is why we talk about this. This is why we have these calls to share information that you need to hear about. So that's why Dr. Wallach, he recommends people eat eggs, cream, butter, eat the fat on the meat. Don't throw the skin of the chicken away. Keep that on there. Don't worry about the fat. Eat it. That's okay. It's good for us. It's, again, the polar opposite of what we've been taught. Now, in order to help us get those essential fatty acids in the body, especially at a more therapeutic level, thankfully with the 90 essential nutrients, again, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 2 essential fatty acids, we have a number of products available through Youngevity that can help provide those essential fatty acids. Now, something we need to keep in mind here, the reason that I personally got on board with these products as a proud distributor is because Youngevity takes it to the extra length. What most essential fatty acid supplement producers do in order to cut costs is they end up compromising the quality because they don't pay attention to the details. They don't have a Dr. Wallach behind giving the data, giving the feedback that they need. And so we're blessed to have Dr. Wallach. But what makes these EFA products from Youngevity, which I'll go over some of them here in a little more detail, what makes them really stand out is the fact that they are produced in a nitrogen environment, which helps prevent oxygen from getting in to whatever is being used as the oil, whether it's fish oil or evening primrose oil or whatever it may be. And it helps keep that oil healthy, helps it from getting oxidized. And then that way, when it comes to us, we are getting it in a form that's actually going to be beneficial to our body instead of getting some cheap, over-the-counter essential fatty acid product from some company that isn't putting those details in it, and then they're just ingesting oxidized oils. So again, sometimes it seems like a contradiction and saying, avoid oils, and yet we're taking fish oil. Well, the details matter, and that's why Youngevity, with the EFA products, they put that attention in there with the nitrogen environment when they're manufacturing this product. So these products in particular. So I'm going to go over some of the more common EFA products. So the most common one that we tend to use, and it's part of the Healthy Start Pack, so whether it's the, Healthy Brain and Heart Pack, Healthy Start Pack, Blood Sugar Pack, they all have the Ultimate EFA Pluses in there. And in the Ultimate EFA Pluses in there, you're going to get those essential fatty acids, both the omega-3 fatty acid, you're going to get the omega-6 fatty acids. So you're going to get those, and in that product, people are getting it from the fish oil, which is anchovy, sardine, or mackerel, organic flax oil, borage seed oil, sunflower oil. But again, it's in a nitrogen chamber, which really helps to keep that oxidation from happening like you would find in those lesser quality supplements out there. So Ultimate EFA Plus, there's 90 capsules in there, and generally we recommend to take one of those bottles per 100 pounds of body weight per month. So depending on the body weight, that would determine your dose, of course, if a person has underlying issues. And this is why we have these Healthy Start Packs that are suited for particular issues. So like in the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack, for instance, not only will they get the Ultimate EFA Plus, the 90 count, but they're also going to get extra EFAs. So they get the Ultimate EFAs, the 180 count, and that, again, is going to provide those essential fatty acids. You're going to be able to get those essential fatty acids, which are a key component, again, of the 90 essential nutrients. Ultimate EFA Plus, you can get that alone. You can get it in a 4-pack as well. You can get it through the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack. Okay? So, and then when it comes to another product that we commonly use, it's the Prohoba Omega. Now, in this product, it's just giving the omega-3 essential fatty acids. In particular, and this is one of the reasons, so Dr. Glidden tends to, for adults, to promote the Prohoba Omega. And his reason for doing that in particular is because your average American in the West, through their diet, is getting a lot of omega-6s compared to omega-3s. And in order not to create an imbalance, because what can happen is if you have too many omega-6s and not enough omega-3s, what can end up happening is that can create more of a pro-inflammatory situation in the body. So there's got to be a balance. You don't want to get too many omega-6s per omega-3s. So Now, don't get me wrong, those other products I mentioned are great. EFA Plus, Ultimate EFAs, those are great. But just from my experience working with both Dr. Wallach, Dr. Glidden, for adults, tend to recommend the Prohoba Omega. But honestly speaking, if you're not taking an EFA product, you really should, because you want to help make sure your body's getting what it needs, and any of those 3 products would be a good start. There is another product available. It's called the Multi-EFA, and that just has the omega-6s in it. We have some people that are strict vegans or vegetarians who may not want any of the fish oil, so sometimes they'll get that. And, look, there is a time for omega-6s, especially after a lot of, stress to the body, in particular injuries, or if you have a child, let's say somebody under the age of 18, who's, they're in a big growth phase of their life, the omega-6s can play an important role, a more important role. I mean, we need both. That's the reality. But these EFA products are available. They're very affordable. And, again, we encourage people to get these products along with the other 90 essential nutrients. So, guys, I want to go ahead and open up the floor here. We got about 22 minutes left, so I'd like to go ahead and open up the floor. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And one last thing before I start to this next phase here of the call, very important that we cover the fact that, again, you aren't what you eat, you are what you absorb. And unfortunately, a lot of people have been told, oh, your gallbladder isn't working, we got to take it out. The problem with that is our gallbladders are meant to store, like as a reservoir, bile, which is very important in breaking down fats, help us for fat utilization, vitamin utilization, the fat-soluble vitamin utilization. So the problem here, what happens is, especially now that the surgical techniques have changed to where people can get a gallbladder surgery, have their gallbladders taken out, and then they can recover very quickly. It's being done a lot these days. A lot of people, they'll go under the knife without even considering the fact that they could deal with this issue nutritionally in many, many instances and not have to do all of that. And then they find themselves without a gallbladder. And the problem with that is, even though your liver is still going to produce bile, it's going to be trickling it in instead of having a nice big gallbladder to help store that bile, to help more optimally break down the fats and the fat-soluble vitamins. So those people out there that are walking around, they don't have any gallbladders, they're going to be at risk, even bigger risk of being deficient in the essential fatty acids and being deficient in fat-soluble vitamins. So we do have a product through Youngevity. It's called the Ultimate Enzymes, and that actually has ox bile in it and some different enzymes. It's especially important for people who don't have a gallbladder, but people have digestive problems in general, say weak stomach acid, which many, many people do, and then especially our elderly folks. We see that more in elderly folks where their gastrointestinal systems just aren't working optimally. So it can be good to give them the extra support with the Ultimate Enzymes and take that right, at the beginning of a meal. And then that way, especially for a fat-containing meal, they can take those Ultimate Enzymes, and that's going to really help them. Even if there's no fat in the meal, it's still a good thing, but especially if they have a fat, they're eating fats in the meal, it's important that they take that. That way, that's going to help, especially for those that don't have a gallbladder, it's going to help provide that bile support, provide some enzyme support to help that person break down and be able to use the fats that they are consuming, both in the form of the supplements and food. So, again, I don't want to leave out the bile support product, enzyme support product through YOUNGEVITY, which is the ultimate enzyme. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and yield. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I want to go ahead and open up the floor here. Anybody have any questions or comments for this topic, please feel free to go ahead and jump in. And then after that, we'll open up the floor for health Q&A. Thanks, everybody. I yield.
So, Anthony, if I may.
You may.
Can you explain how does the gallbladder, actually work, and how does it get gunked up where, the medical industry, tells people they've got this extra, organ in their body that they don't need anymore, and you're going to, pay them big money to take it out for you, and they're going to do you that favor. How does that happen? How does the gallbladder go bad?
Well, this, again, comes back to nutrient deficiencies and eating the wrong foods all the time. And I especially want to point out, here's the problem with the digestive system is it's like lining up a bunch of dominoes, okay? If we're doing something such as eating the wrong things, or if we have nutrient deficiencies, and we mess up our digestion, especially, so think about it, so, digestion begins even before you start eating. Now, let's say you walk into your home after work and you start smelling food cooking. That's called the cephalic phase of digestion. Your brain has sensed through the smell receptors, there's food coming, and your mouth will start producing, you'll start having more saliva. Your gastric area, it's going to start getting prepared for the intake of food, all right? Oftentimes these days, people don't even do that. They just go into fast food. They're on the go. They don't even have that chance to just start eating. There's so many things we're doing that's not allowing our digestive system to function optimally. And probably the worst culprit here is people who are drinking alkaline water or carbonated beverages with a meal, and or if they're on a low-salt diet, or they're calcium deficient. That's going to cause your stomach acid to become weaker. That's going to put more stress, so your body's not going to be able to digest food as well. And then by the time it gets to the small intestines, everything downstream in your digestive system is going to have to work even harder. And then by the time it gets to the digestive system where the gallbladder starts becoming more and more, where it's squirting out the bile, it's going to be harder on the gallbladder in those circumstances. And, of course, nutrient deficiencies, people who are, for instance, selenium is extremely important for the liver. If you're really selenium deficient, and let's say we're eating foods like high fructose corn syrup, that's going to impact your liver health. That's going to cause your liver to suffer. That can end up leading to problems in bile production. So there's a lot of things that go into that. So a cleaner lifestyle is just going to help that gallbladder function better, and produce also the right, it's going to have a more optimal pH so that it's functioning normally, so that the food that you are eating, the nutrients you are taking, it's going to be able to help take care of that. It's the people out there that are having the carbonated beverages, that are eating garbage food, a lot of processed food. It's going to stress the gallbladder to the point where it's not going to function optimally, and then you can end up getting gallstones, sluggish gallbladder activity, and then if people start getting symptomatic, they start having pain, or let's say it gets so bad that the gallbladder bursts, then there you go. Then they're going to say, oh, you need to do surgery, and then they take your gallbladder out. So these are all considerations to think of. And again, just the boilerplate recommendations. Dr. Wallach says if you avoid those foods, there's 12 bad foods like Dr. Glidden talked about, or Dr. Wallach, they mentioned about a number of these foods. If you give your body the raw materials it needs, things are just going to work better throughout the body. And that there is going to help set people up for success.
Thank you for that. Now, let me ask you, is fried food have an effect on the gunking up the gallbladder?
Yeah, it's interesting because the fried food, of course, the oxidative damage that can have on your body, that can definitely put a stress on your gallbladder. That's one of the most common things. I think there was an inventory done. There was data collected that, like, what was the most recent food eaten by somebody who ended up having a gallbladder attack, and it was like fried onions. Fried food in particular can just stress your gallbladder and make it work so hard that, yeah, it can end up having some big problems, creating some big problems.
Well, thank you for that. Now, let me ask you, what do you know about an air fryer? If you're frying food without actually using oil and you're using an air fryer, is that still fried food?
You know, that's a good point you bring up, and I've heard Dr. Glidden talk about this. So here's the problem. The people that I've seen use an air fryer, they kind of defeat the purpose in many ways because they'll still put oil and stuff in it. That's so. Well, let me of all,
the reason I asked that, Anthony, excuse me, is, you know, I have a friend that, you know, actually is quite, you know, he's been on Youngevity for about 1.5 years, and he's very clean, you know, pretty much, not completely, but he's 99%. Now, they do use an air fryer, but they don't use oil. He just had a gallbladder attack. And, you know, I gave him a bottle of liver and gallbladder support from Good Herbs. And I told him the story about, you know, Brett tells a story that, you know, a lady years ago, you know, her and her daughter they stopped in a storefront that he used to have in Royal Oak by our big hospital, Royal Oak Beaumont, and she was on her way to have emergency gallbladder surgery, and she bought 2 bottles of those two, the herbal tinctures, and they were talking, and then she went in the bathroom. Well, she was gone quite a while, and they realized she didn't come back from the bathroom, so they went and checked on her. She had drank one of the bottles, a whole bottle of it. It's a 4-ounce tincture. And she told him that she did that, and he's like, oh, wow, you know. And she's like, but I got to go, you know, have my gallbladder removed, you know. So she gets to the hospital, and they do an ultrasound before they take her in, you know, to make sure she's the right patient and her gallbladder's, you know, as bad as they said it was. Well, there was no gallstones in it. They were completely gone. And, you know, Brett tells that story often. I'm quite fond of it. And, you know, I told that to my friend, and he didn't drink the whole bottle. He drank, you know, a third to half of it. And then, you know, he slowly took the rest. But even after that, drinking that much, it helped him. And now today, and this was like, you know, last week, I think, it wasn't very long, but, you know, now I've got him on, you know, 3 milliliters 3 times a day, and it's cleared right up. It's gone. It dissolved those gallstones completely. And but he does use an air fryer, but he does not use oil. Now they do eat out occasionally, and I think he said he usually goes with a steak when he eats out. But I've heard docs say that air frying is frying, even if you don't use oil. So do you know anything about that air fryer that would lead you to believe that that would be the cause of my friend's problem with his gallbladder? He's actually 65 years old. He lifts weights. He's in incredible shape. Nobody can believe how young he looks. How old he really is. And he goes for a physical every year. The doctors are blown away by his, not on any medication. And anyway, he's quite a specimen. So, what do you think about that air fryer? And if you don't know, can you find out? I yield.
I'll be just very straight up with you. I would like to continue to learn more about it. I'll tell you that one thing I do know is that for thousands of years, people have been cooking, by boiling, roasting, having, and maybe a little more recent history, of course, using a stovetop, using butter, cooking in an oven, crock pot. Those are things that I encourage. Those are things that I do personally. That's what I lean towards. There's a lot of data out there about the differences between those cooking methods. The air fryer method is such a new thing that I'm going to have to see what happens over time. Now, I would argue that in the event that you have a food that is being fried, especially depending on the amount of fat and the type of fat. So, if you're eating like a piece of chicken, or let's just say you're eating, maybe if you put some vegetables or like pieces of potato in there or something without the skin, that's going to be healthier if you're not using extra, like an oil, than it would be putting in a deep fryer with oil. I have no doubt that would be healthier to do that than putting it in a deep fryer with oil. I think it is healthier as long as oil isn't being added to it. Now, with that being said, with the air fryer, somebody had gotten my girlfriend, I don't even remember who gave it to her, an air fryer. I've looked at it before. You can set, so it works by, you can set, it has like settings that are in there that some of them like are set already for chicken or, baked potato or whatever, or, fried potatoes, I guess you'd say in this case. And you can adjust the temperature on it to where it's really low, like in the 300s, which is more akin to baking something, whereas you're getting way higher. You're getting 500, 600, 700 degrees, maybe even higher if you're using a deep fryer and cooking in oil. So from a temperature perspective, I think it could be adjusted, and if you're not using oil, I think it would be healthier than deep frying. I don't think it would be as healthy as cooking it in a soup, or cooking the chicken in a soup, or putting it in a crock pot or something like that. What gets me, the unknown for me, is the technology and what's being used to accelerate the cooking time like it does. I don't know if it's similar to a pressure cooker. I'd be like, okay. If it's like using some technology that's going to cause enhanced oxidative stress,
well, if I may, there is a fan. There's a fan in there that circulates the heat. So not only does the pan heat up, the fan circulates the heat, so it's helping cook the food faster. And I mean, I'm guessing it's like, if you're cooking vegetables or, let's say potatoes, cut up potatoes, if you take the skin off them, it's superheating that carbohydrate. And
right.
Superheated carbohydrates you said if it has the word fried in it, you shouldn't be eating it. So,
Right.
and I don't know what kind of research Doc has done, but he says air frying is frying. So
yeah, I mean, and it's unfortunate too, because it's like even in the conventional system, you're hearing them talk more about the problems with fried food. But that's the other thing. Like, a lot of these terms aren't even used properly. Like, I'll hear people say, "Oh, I'm frying this in butter," and it's like, well, if you're just putting a hamburger patty or a steak on a cast iron skillet and you're cooking it on a low temperature with some butter in there, that's not frying. Okay,
right.
So the distinction is really in the oil, but you're right. So I have more to learn about this, and quite frankly, yeah. I mean, if Dr. Wallach says it's the same as basically it's still frying, I'm going to lean on that. Personally, I'm not going to lose a second of sleep with the idea of never using an air fryer going forward.
Right.
Like,
Me,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So for me, again, and I think a lot of this comes down to this American culture of we want it now, we want it now,
Yeah.
we want it faster, and this is where it's like at some point we gotta have a trade-off here. At some point you gotta say, okay, look, I'm okay if it's healthier for me, and it takes 5 or 10 more minutes to put it in a pot of water and make a soup out of it, or boil it, or roast it or bake it, whatever.
You know what? I made a baked potato. I wrapped a baked potato or a potato in parchment paper, and then I wrapped it in aluminum foil, and I baked it at 400 for an hour, and it came out with soft, moist skin. It was not crispy, and the potato was thoroughly cooked, and it was delicious. So you can actually bake a potato and eat the skin because it doesn't superheat that carbohydrate and make it crispy. So you got to throw it away.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So,
and I know, we're always trying to make better food, and people get bored of, if their food isn't, whatever, right? Some people they don't like that, boiled, broiled, or not broiled, but boiled and you know what I mean, stewed and all that, soups. And so anyway, I'll yield.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great conversation.
Hey, thank you, man. Very good dialogue there. Very good comments. Very good point. Again, that's what we really talk about. This is the nitty-gritty stuff. This is why, which I recommend people. Of course, since COVID, things have been screwed up. But again, we have our Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time opportunity now to talk with Dr. Wallach. He's got his radio show opportunities. Back before COVID and everything, I was going around the country watching Dr. Wallach present, and that's what I would do. I would ask these questions like Dave did. I would ask him questions about, I think somebody had asked him about the use of a microwave. I asked him about hard-boiled eggs as opposed to soft-boiled eggs. I'd ask him questions. I'd ask him, Dr. Wallach, can you give me an example of what you eat throughout the day? Again, this is the practical stuff because you could tell somebody, avoid the 12 bad foods. But then a lot of people, it's like, okay, well, what do I eat, or how do I go about doing this? So these are very good practical strategies here. Anybody else? Anybody have any questions, comments related to this, or if you have a health Q&A? We're getting to the end of the hour here, so now's your opportunity if you have a question or comment for yourself or a loved one. Okay. All right. Well,
we have some recipes you want to share, or testimonials, anything. Or if you're just listening, that's fine too.
I wanted to, and please, anybody who's on, here, I hear somebody.
Yeah, I've been hollering and thinking you couldn't hear me. This is Dia. Hello?
Dia, how are you?
We hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Yeah. Okay. What a question I was going to ask about is here lately I've been having problem with constipation. What is causing it? I try to eat a lot of fiber and stuff. Why am being more constipated? What causing it?
First thing I want to ask. Okay, especially, are you still out? Are you out in California?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Has it been extra hot out there?
Yeah, well, yeah. It's been some nice weather. It just now began to turn real hot.
Do you go out? You walk around outside? Do you get pretty heated up during the day?
Well, I walk around, like now, I walk around, sometimes. I don't do it all the time.
Most important things I think about is water intake. Probably one of the most common reasons why people. So you should reflect upon, if you haven't already, because I'm seeing this more and more as the summer comes along here, as it gets hotter. You know, I live in Tampa, Florida. I'm seeing a lot more, especially because here's the thing. As we get older, it's a common tendency because of the way our thirst receptors are. For many people, they just become desensitized to that thirst signal. So I see this tendency as we get older that people become more prone to dehydration. So really make sure you're drinking enough water throughout the day so that you are, because if you're constipated, oftentimes it's related to dehydration. You might want to up your water. And then the other thing is so, you know, how many at this point, what is your body weight?
I weigh about 130, right in there.
So how many ounces of calcium magnesium are you taking beyond OsteoFX?
Yes.
Okay. How much you taking of that?
Mine is liquid, and I do an ounce twice a day.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, what about
calcium, magnesium deficiencies?
Okay, I do this other water, this quantum water. Will that make me constipated?
No.
I had
that should help you.
Okay, I usually drink a bottle of that a day. I mean, it's
how much
diluted.
water do you think
not
you're drinking throughout the day in ounces?
Okay,
Cups?
I try to do 8 ounces. 8 cups a day. I'll put it that way. Of water.
Like 8-ounce glasses?
Yeah.
Especially when it's hotter, I would try to shoot. I'd try to shoot for 9 if you can. Just add an extra.
Okay.
Add an extra because kind of a general rule of thumb is you want to drink half your body weight in ounces of water. So if you're at 30, you'd want to do 65 ounces. But because it's hotter out, you're just gonna be more prone to sweating. I would drink maybe an extra glass of water. And here's another thing. Dr. Glidden did a good webinar on maximizing the absorption of your nutrients. And when it comes to minerals in particular, like calcium and magnesium, which those are key for, the proper contraction and relaxation of your muscles, including the smooth muscles of your bowels. It's another reason why people deficient in magnesium can have a problem. Now, you're taking a pretty good dose, but of the calcium magnesium with the Beyond OsteoFX. But one thing you might want to look at, unless you're already being mindful to do this. So there are things in foods called phytates, also oxalates, which are like found in like leafy greens, and then of course fiber in itself. You want to, you might experiment with making sure you take the Beyond OsteoFX, preferably like 2 or more hours away, if at all possible, from the time that you're getting that fiber in there. Like if you're getting a big dose of fiber in your meals, or like if you're you might want to look up phytates. That's like what's found in like seeds and different grains.
I do a lot of chia seeds and flax seeds even I put it in my drinks. That chia seeds. What I
would do is I would experiment for the next week. I mean, I think this is a good thing overall. If you're going to be eating, and I'm talking with Dr. Wallach about this, he tends to personally eat, it'll be common for him during lunch to eat like a big salad. And part of his reason for doing that is because he knows that, in that salad, you're going to get a lot of fiber. You're going to have more exposure there in your system to getting oxalates and phytates, and the fiber, all that together can actually decrease your body's ability to absorb nutrients. So this is why Dr. Wallach tends to eat salads in the middle of the day, and then he'll supplement outside of that. So I would encourage you to take your Beyond OsteoFX, and anytime you're having a mineral supplement in general, if at all possible, do it before or after eating a meal with all the fiber, whether it's the chia seeds and flax.
I usually take my that at bedtime, my the second ounce at bedtime before I go to bed.
That's good.
And also I want to add, the quantum water, see, I dilute it because on the bottle it says to do a half of...
I got to get on a call.
Let me see how it says. For hydration, 1 ounce per half gallon of pure water. Okay, I do that way, but I also put 1 ounce of minerals with that water and the quantum water. I drink that together, and I usually do a 16 ounce. And I was thinking that maybe this is what giving me constipation. I didn't know.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't imagine that would do it, but you can always do a little in-house experiment and maybe see if you take it outside of your minerals, if that makes any difference. But I would probably say a bigger factor is going to be not getting all the fiber, all the seeds, all that stuff with your mineral supplements, especially the calcium, magnesium. I'm glad you're taking Beyond OsteoFX at night, ideally, 1.
And then I take the Z-Radical at night.
Yeah, preferably away from meals with fiber, and that's just going to really maximize your absorption of the nutrients.
Yeah, and I also take Z-Radical at the night too with the OsteoFX. That's
good. And then physical activity in general. The more the more sedentary people are, the more prone they're going to be for being constipated. So make sure you find that good balance. Keep active. Go on some walks. But again, because it's hotter, I would get a little bit more water in there. You know, like they say, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, so to speak. That's got a special fiber in there that can be good for making sure to keep you more regular. And then another thing, having a little bit of a YOUNGEVITY coffee. I don't know if you do any coffee, but just a nice little cup of coffee in the morning, especially after you eat. That can help you just have a more regular bowel movement. And then, so those are.
I just started this after I got to California. When I was in Kansas, I ain't had no problem with it. I don't know. Maybe the changing. I don't know. Okay, I'll do all those things. I try this and try that and see which works.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good. And if you ever find yourself in a pickle, what you can do, this is a little nurse concoction you can do, is you get a little tab, like a little pad of butter, and you melt it and then put it in a couple ounces of prune juice and mix that together, the melted butter and prune juice. That works like a charm most of the time.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks, Anthony.
You're very welcome.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else? Well, we're about at the top here. So, folks, appreciate you being on. We look forward to connecting again next Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time. Be sure to take advantage of the other YOUNGEVITY calls. And I want to especially emphasize the Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time opportunity to connect with Dr. Wallach. If you have a health-related question,